Okay, so now that we got your attention, right? All spring long, we've been helping you clean up your budget. And recent studies have shown that women have been cutting back. Remember, we were talking about how women were cutting back unnecessary spending, but generally carrying more debt than men. And that's affecting not just their wallet, but their physical well-being.
Yeah, Nina's here to give us some insight on how we can get better wealth health.
Yeah, you know, we're behind the curve for some reason. There are more women breaking the glass ceiling. There's more women in the C-suite. There's more women in the courtroom, the boardroom.
Oh,
so why are we still not saving as much? There's been tremendous strides made, but part of the reason we're behind the curve is, you know, this financial front has been an uphill battle. As recently as the early 70s, women couldn't even get their very own line of credit. And this was really eye-opening. If you're female and you have a credit card in your wallet, you can thank this lady right here, RBG, the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, had to fight to ban inequality in lending so women could get loans in plastic of their own. Actually, Gerald Ford signed this Equal Credit Opportunity Act into law in 1974. But
crazy
look,
that it was 1974.
74, really. Women are saving 43% less. 70% of elderly women are only relying on Social Security. 50% of women have less than 500 emergency savings and really have no retirement plan in place. So it's an issue that we have to, you know, continue to try to work on. And, you know, Sam, as you were saying, we just wrapped up Financial Literacy Month. And I wanted to tell you that we spoke to a doctor who wanted to help us all turn the page and become better. So when a doctor has to get involved in your financial health, you know there's a problem.
Right.
And I met this OBGYN on a panel called Women for Women, and Tracy Verrico was raising a family, living paycheck to paycheck and going broke. So she said, what's happening here? What's wrong? She began a class called What Wealthy Women Know, realizing she was treating women's bodies, but not the stress of her patients not having a healthy financial picture. And that was causing a lot of health problems.
Sure it would.
So a big pivot was necessary to write this prescription to get better.
I think, you know, women are taught to be perfect, and they don't take a step unless they're perfect. So we don't take a step. And I think the biggest, most powerful piece is education. And if you're educated, then you can take a better, more calculated risk and feel more comfortable about taking that risk. So I think it's a combination of all of those things. We're just spending, we're not paying attention, you know, we're busy working, raising our children. The first thing I would recommend is take your financial temperature and see where your deficiencies are. I think a lot of people are afraid to look because they almost don't want to know. A lot of times we're not taught financial literacy. We're not part of that conversation. The studies show that when we bring up our children, if they're male, they do get a tremendous amount of financial literacy. Women don't. And even mothers of female women they're raising are not teaching that. And then, you know, the other piece of this is if you're not in a family that builds wealth, then you're not necessarily privy to some of those pieces of information to know where to begin. I would just say get the basics, get your foundation really under control. Make sure that you have the best foundation of your financial picture in place. So whether that's a budget, you know, paying down your debt, learning more about how can you invest your money, not just, you know, in the stock market necessarily, but what are the other avenues, and know what questions to ask.
All right, doctor's orders. There are a lot of free resources at your public library and online that are free. But if you don't face your fear, it's going to eat away at you. And stress, as we know, is a killer, and financial stress is a big one. So financial planners say that women, one of our biggest fears, from minimum wage to women who have wealth, is running out of money. No matter where you are in life, no matter how much you have in the bank, our biggest fear is running out of money. But women are also more likely to go like this and put blinders on and not want to face their debt.
That's true.
And this goes for women and men. Are you the kind of person that like opens your bills and knows what you owe and know what your debt is? Charlene, why are you making that face?
I know exactly.
You know, I do other things. I cook. I'm a really good cook.
Well, great mom,
but you don't,
great mom.
I get up at 2 a.m. for work. I don't look at that.
That's enough.
And I think that you're right. I think we should be taking control of our finances and have better financial literacy, because it's just so important.
Yeah, just like you learn to read, as the doctor was saying, and Sam, I saw you nodding your head. If you're not in a family that knew how to invest,
This is so true.
you may not even know where to begin. But what her advice is, even people who aren't making a lot can save. And it just has to start with somewhere. Cutting out the coffee, $5 a day, that's $1,200 a year.
We talked about that.
Right.
The little things that you think are
adds
little
up.
things. that
It
you
has to
spend money
start.
on,
It
adds
has
up.
to start somewhere. Do you face your debt? Do you look at your bills?
So I never did when I was younger. As I got closer to retirement age, I started thinking about how much money we'll have after I stopped working, and I started paying attention and getting charge of my finances. But I would say don't wait that long.
And especially right now, because of the market,
advice.
it's a great time to get in and watch your money grow.
Well, the good thing is that Sam has another 30 years before leaving.
Because he's got that painting in the closet that's aging, because he's definitely not.
Literacy, financial literacy.
Great tips.
Nina,
seriously,
so
thank you so
good.
much.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to be teaching my little girl something.
Let's do
really
it.
important.
Me
Let's do
too.
it.